Okay, good to go.
Okay. So we start. Okay, so this is Maanee, Crystal, and I am here with my friend Christian Pankhurst, friend and colleague Christian Pankhurst. We are here to introduce ourselves to each other's community and also to have a chat about our upcoming facilitator training, which is called the Somatic Shadow Work Facilitator Training, which is being curated between both Christian and I. So what I'll do is I'll introduce and then get Christian to introduce himself, and then we will chat about our baby that is coming through this beautiful portal of our geniuses combined together, which is the facilitator training. So yes, my name is Maanee. For those that don't know me, I am a somatic integrative trauma therapist. I've been in private practice as a somatic psychotherapist for around 10 years. I'm also a dance therapist, an erotic educator, and the founder of the Somatic Institute for Women, which is a body-based, trauma-informed school that provides teacher trainings to women in somatic education to bring somatics into their work as a therapist or coach, or to start a whole new kind of path as a somatic educator. And yeah, I am a devotee of the shadow, of the hidden, the suppressed, the denied aspects of self. This is where my orientation and sense of navigating reality tends to sit, is looking at what is not on the surface. So going underneath and exploring the depths of our psyche and soul and body and being personally and collectively. So that's my muse and my love. And I'm going to hand it over to Christian to introduce himself.
Wonderful. Yay. So yeah, my name is Christian Pankhurst. I'm the founder of Heart IQ. My speciality is doing deep transformational work in group, tribe, and in community, where we can accelerate the healing process, our own awakening journey, in the power of being in circle together. So my speciality is in heart-centered communication, group dynamics, and teaching embodied, physicalized practices to expand into emotional, energetic ranges that are exiled, made wrong, or carry shame around, so that we can become more integrated and whole. So Heart IQ is an integrated practice, integrating the emotional, energetic, intuitive, the mental aspects all combined. And we specialize on how to train facilitators in group field attunement. So how to read what's happening in the field, how to give feedback based on emergent qualities rather than strong agendas, or having like a teaching curriculum, to train facilitators to really be in the moment, to being present, and to feel what's alive, and to coach through the body how to bring more liberation and activation to somebody's being, so they become more free and more whole and more joyful beings out into the world. And yeah, this is what I'm really enjoying about the connection and collaboration with Maanee, is that we get to combine these two beautiful bodies of works and practices, and allow you to benefit and receive the integration of that. Because to do this type of deep shadow, deep transformational work in group fields requires really high levels of somatic awareness, integration, regulation, being aware of how trauma moves, stuck and can get interrupted and re-traumatized. We need to be aware of these pieces. That's really, so yeah, I'm really psyched and looking forward to our first in August. I'm curious, something just popped up just as a beginning part of this conversation. How would you define the shadow?
Hmm. What we don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, like very simply, what we cannot see. And a deeper definition of the shadow for me is where a lot of our hidden potential actually resides. And that's why I'm obsessed with my work, and that it's just such a core piece of my personal and professional orientation, is that there's always something about myself that I don't know, or always someone else that I don't know. And when I feel safe enough to open up into that investigation, there is such beauty and magic that comes through, because the unconscious, the hidden, the suppressed parts of our psyche, it's so vast in what it can hold. It holds all of our undigested experiences. It holds all of the parts of ourself that we were told weren't allowed to be, because we received information that
Hmm.
wasn't going to get us the love and connection that we needed. Obviously, a lot of the time that's done indirectly, or nervous system to nervous system, or just by small body postures and cues as a child. Like there's so many ways that parts of ourself get exiled. And the shadow often has a negative connotation to it, like the dark side. But it's called the dark side because it's in the dark. It's like when you turn the light off, you cannot see. That doesn't mean that it's bad. So the shadow is not only holding these exiled parts of ourselves that maybe we would rather not be, that we could classify as negative, but shadow the most holds all this energy and potential of what Robert Johnson, who is a kind of Jungian therapist as well, would call our inner gold, which is
Hmm.
our hidden light, our suppressed light and power. So that's what, for me, kind of in my long-winded explanation, encapsulates the shadow, all of ourself that we are not in touch with, basically.
Beautiful. That's
Yeah.
beautiful.
Mm.
Right now, I'm in Sweden about to start this event tonight, and the guy who is hosting it is a great friend who's been in practice for the last 20 years. And we had a conversation yesterday, and he was talking about how he works with trauma, but doesn't use the word trauma. And he says, yeah, trauma for me is the as yet unavailable potential energy and information that is yet to be integrated. Now, that's a
Mm.
long sentence to to describe trauma, but there's something about the shadow that links into that, which is the unintegrated or unavailable as of yet
Yeah,
information and energy stored in the body that's just craving to be brought back home. And
exactly.
this is something that I feel that we're going to be bringing, not just as a personal imprint in this event, but the fact that it's facilitator training. What's important is to learn how to navigate the nuance and subtlety to guide others to this unknown place. And for me, one of the difficulties in training in this art, which I think requires slowing down and the practice of this, is how to navigate people's defense mechanism to see the unknown.
Yes.
Because that which is unknown often doesn't want to be known. And there's a good reason why it's in the unknown. It's because there's
Exactly.
protective defense mechanisms in place. In hard IQ, the language we use, we call those stewards, these
Mm.
defense mechanisms that we learn that are very functional, that keep others out and keep ourselves from revealing ourselves fully. And how to enjoyably, safely, and artfully kind of go under the radar and support people to really face themselves is a big part of what we're going to be training how to do. Yeah.
And
No,
what
I
I
love it.
love about, oh, sorry,
No,
continue.
go ahead. No, I was just going to say that I just really loved your definition of shadow. It's just very clear, and it's completely in resonance of how we hold it in hard IQ as well. It's especially the part around the shadow not being bad. It's just in the dark. It's just hidden, and the transforming that pain into purpose, wounding into art, and harvesting the gold just feels really, really on point.
Yeah, I love that. That should be our tagline, Christian. Turning pain into art. But this is what I was going to say is that, excuse me, everyone, I'm recovering from sickness. So let's do some shadow work in that moment. I didn't want to cough because that can look unprofessional, right? Like this subtle little things that we want to repress because we want to present a particular image of ourselves. And that was such a perfect moment of like, oh, I'm coughing, and now even I might not look good in that one split second. And now how is that going to define me? And so the shadow work, I'm going kind of in a tangent now from what I was originally going to say, but the shadow is like,
the more you cough, the more I want to cough. I don't even have a cough, and you're making me cough. That's a perfect example of group entrainment right there.
Exactly.
I'm like, oh no.
We are one. From Amsterdam to Sweden, our
I wonder how many people watching are coughing right now. If you're coughing, then you're one of us. You're meant to come to this event.
Exactly. So what's beautiful is, I'll just speak to two pieces because I have two elements I want to speak to. But that moment that I was wanting to protect, how I was perceived by not fucking coughing, which is just ridiculous. What is beautiful about shadow work is that when you come into contact with the parts of yourself that are seeking validation and approval, which is something that we'll be honing into, which is one of my favorite topics. When you feel safe enough in your body and in your being to be in relationship with those parts, you start to be able to track little things like that pop up in the moment. Because, I've been doing this for 10 years and I still have a lot of defense mechanisms I'm probably not aware of as well. And what's fun is that when you stop taking yourself so seriously because of shadow work, in my experience, because you see we are all human, we all want love, we all want connection, and we all have these funny little quirks and defense mechanisms and strategies to gain love and approval that actually lock in our authenticity in the present moment, and that severs connection. So it's like in those moments, my being is more interested because of the conditioning of like being perceived in a certain way rather than letting myself goddamn cough, which is crazy, it sounds stupid, but it's not, because it's such a representation of what are we not allowing ourselves to feel, to be, to say, how to sit, how to express, how to like literally breathe into the world, because we're so caught in a lack of a sense of safety within ourselves, which comes into not feeling safe to be in the body. And that is why the somatic element is so important. The somatic nervous system, trauma-informed element is so important, because there is one thing where we go to do the work, and shadow work can be quite mental. But then there's this element of learning how to feel safe in my body to be myself. So there needs to be this coherence and this collaboration between nervous system work and shadow work, somatic nervous system work and shadow work, to have that feeling of, I'm aware that I'm seeking validation, but I literally feel stuck in a freeze response or a fawn response. So when we start to actually bring in that somatic element, we're opening up that sense of safety to cough. The cough is the metaphor now. And the piece that I wanted to say before, and therefore you become more free and relaxed within yourself, which is both what mine and Christian's work is about, is really about freedom within our self and the collective. And the other piece that I want to speak to is that what's exciting about this work is doing it in group, because you start to see, like, one-on-one work is amazing. Group work is really incredible for something like shadow work, because you start to see that you're not the only person that seeks validation, approval, or has shame about X, Y, and Z. And shame is healed or integrated when it is seen. And you can do that one-on-one, but in a group, feedback of like, wow, I just revealed a part of myself that I have shame about, and I'm still loved. There's a fundamental change in the pathway of your life in that moment. And not only for you, but for those that are witnessing you. And that's what's really exciting about the group work element. So I'm going to pause here. But yeah, this is what I love about shadow work and group work.
Nice. Yeah, just tagging on there from the piece around the group work, the witnessing power is huge. What's also beautiful is that the group can be trained to attune to your shadows better than you can attune to them. So they can reveal and help reveal and support sensing the blind spots that we don't always have access to ourselves. So through a process of giving feedback in a really embodied way and in a way that is not critical or analytical, but really supports people in understanding how are they being felt in the world, and what parts are maybe not being owned that are going underground. Like, I've been talking to a lot of women recently who talk about their experiences of being around men who can sometimes carry a leaky sexual energy. So, as an example, leaky sexual energy would be a man or a woman who doesn't own their desire, and thus that energy becomes unspoken, and it can come out through maybe what could be perceived externally as an innocent touch, but the touch is charged with a lot of unexpressed need and desire, but it's not being spoken above ground, so it goes underground. So this could be like shadow energies operating in somebody's life, and it's felt in relationships, it's felt in interactions. Now, in my personal life, for example, when I hear these types of complaints or shares, I go into a place of, oh my God, I so don't want to be one of those men. So this can also become a shadow, is not the player, the person that is leaky, the guy that's always in desire and hungry and can't get enough, and therefore it can create a contraction in the reverse where suddenly everything gets zipped up. Sexual energy becomes managed, denied, impulses are frozen, and then there's an unavailability to be fully embodied and fully spontaneous and fully me. And therefore, how to integrate that shadow without becoming the negative aspect of, the man who is out there leaking all over the place. And so this is the type of example of a journey that we get to take. And there's complexities to it because it's informed by potential childhood wounding, abuse. It could be informed by our perception, cultural and collective shadows. Things like the Me Too movement and the whole idea of what's it mean to be a man? What is toxic masculinity and blah, blah, blah. It goes on and on and on. So it's a multi-dimensional, multi-layered aspect. And that's why this work is so important to train, but also to be trained well in, because this is very easy to skip over steps and to go into places that might not serve. So we need to really know what we're doing. That's the bottom line around this. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Mm.
that's another piece when we look at the shadow is, yeah, looking at our projections, looking at, you know, a
Mm-hmm.
projection in shadow work. I mean, this is a known kind of term, but I'll just speak to it. Is this is a classic case of projection when we are denying a part of ourselves that we don't even allow ourselves to be, and then we judge others like, oh, that guy's a predator, or she's a slut, or she's too much. And very often that's what we haven't owned within ourselves that gets cast in the shadow, meaning that we don't embody it, but we project it outside and people live it out for us. And when we're able to claim our own predator, it becomes safe and healthy, for instance, rather than denying it.
Yeah.
Because at some point, what will happen, the more that we repress, the more energy that gets constellated in our nervous system, it will come out in even more shadowy ways that may not be directly linked to you, like all of a sudden having an eruption of predatory energy, which could happen actually, but where there's like a repression of your aliveness, and then an autoimmune disease could come up, right? Like it's so interesting to see when we repress what actually wants to come through. The shadow must live out in some way. And it may not be the thing, but it can come out in a lot of physical pain or diseases or chronic illnesses. So it's and then, you know, the nervous system is staying in a dysregulated hypo or hypoaroused state. So we're functioning with all these kind of symptoms of repression. And this is what is so exciting about looking at the repressed, the exiled, the orphaned parts of ourselves, is that when again we feel safe enough to let that come out, we're not only letting a part of ourselves come out and be reintegrated back in a healthy way, but we're also liberating a lot of stored emotions, sensations, nervous system dysregulation, trauma that frees up. Like the amount of body pain that I've left, you know, after even a big cry, it's like I'm not having that chronic pain in my back anymore. So
Yeah,
the
just like me.
emotional and sensation-based element is really important to also process and digest the emotions that surround the repression as well. So that feeling somatic aspect is vital in all of this. And the thing that I want to say is that we're talking about like a lot of elements of shadow work, and this training is an introduction to the fundamentals. So you're not going to maybe walk away healing cancer from this 1 week, let's say. From liberating shadow. I mean, that was an extreme example, but I'm trying to manage expectations as well. Is like we're opening up to a portal of possibility, and this is a level 1 training. So Christian and I definitely have the intention to deepen and grow in different like elements of this work. But what we're going to be doing is looking at the core fundamentals of somatic shadow work within our curation of it, where you'll walk away feeling in contact with quite a few elements around circle work, somatic coaching, how to track and look at projections, defense mechanisms, the way we seek validation and approval, how we can actually integrate and be seen in that in circle, in, as Christian calls, tribe. So this is kind of where our focal point will be in the program.
Yeah. One thing I love about the way these events get transmitted is that you can't help but get a personal imprint and transmission of your own healing, while simultaneously getting the professional imprint. So it's not a place where we just wear our coaching hats and we study the whole facilitator journey without going into the personal experience. So we get to do both, be in a profound healing environment while simultaneously pick up the tools that could allow us to upgrade how we meet our clients. And my wish is those of you who are, for example, working one-to-one already, that you will see the power and the acceleration and what's possible if you open up to doing group work and doing circle, because there is a profound, there's like more impact possible. But it does require a set of skills to be able to do that well. To go into group work competently requires some important ingredients that we're going to cover. It doesn't just happen automatically by bringing a bunch of people together. When surrender and feel, and when do you bring out the sword and enter and penetrate? How do you read what's happening in a group field? And stuff like that. These are all nuances, and a lot of the work is subtle. It's not taught in a step-by-step, do this, then this, then this. It needs to be felt. So we develop a felt sense of what's happening in a group field like this.
Exactly. Yeah, and the piece that I'm really excited about bringing is reorienting our awareness and processing to the present moment. So shifting kind of out of story realm, narrative, even though there's story and narrative that's intertwined into that repression, but really coming into the present moment and the present felt embodied experience of what's happening here and now. And this is something that I'm excited to go into training around, which will impact you on one-on-one sessions, as also group facilitation, is how are we actually being informed by the present moment? And how are we being guided by life in the present moment through tracking what's happening? And that requires a sensitivity and attunement that again comes from that kind of somatic nervous system regulation and awareness. Safety into the group, and somatic safety is where the animal body feels relaxed to be open. And so this is going to benefit you in a one-on-one setting and a group setting, to just bring in elements that I feel are just vital in general, regardless of what type of facilitator you are. I feel like everyone needs to be nervous system and trauma aware, informed, just to create more space within our systems to open up to more freedom. Because opening to freedom can be really fucking scary. We're so used to being caged, we don't even realize that we are caged. And it's kind of like when you learn to breathe deeply, you didn't realize how shallow you've been breathing all your life. And it's sort of like opening up to a new way of being that can feel scary, because the known or the familiar, even if it doesn't feel good, can be more comfortable. So having that group community field where we can do this together and not alone is, for me, the most transformational aspect of this as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm aware that we said it was going to be 10 minutes and it's now been half an hour.
Yeah, all right. So maybe we'll pause here.
Let's just give a few practical details. So there's a website you can go to get more information. It's the Shadow Facilitator. It's called www.shadowfacilitator.com. And you can apply, and we ask a few questions to feel if there's a fit there. And if you want to reach out and just ask questions, leave a post here or comment, or just reach out to us personally, we're happy to answer any questions that you may have. And I think we're going to be doing a webinar soon as well in a couple of weeks' time.
Yeah, so we've decided to do like a longer webinar, maybe on I think it's the 5th of July. So we'll confirm that information. It'll just be, I think, deepening in conversation a bit more. And you can feel Christian and I and our alchemy together as well. So yeah, that information will be soon, and really, really hope to meet some of you in person in the Netherlands, where I've just arrived, and it's so wonderful.
Yay.
So yeah, and I can't wait to journey with you, Christian. We've been, friends since the end of last year, and I just love what we share in our passion and devotion. And what feels really good is knowing the personal relationship that we've had and feeling the level of integrity and coherence of our work also in the personal. Like if something's coming up or something didn't land well, there's an active participation in what we're teaching, and that feels exciting, that there's like, yes, just coherence in the personal and the leadership role, because the transmission's going to be really strong between the both of us, and I'm just very excited about that.
Yeah, me too.
Okay.
Wonderful. All right, let's see. Yeah, let's pause the stream. Thanks, everybody. Speak to you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay, the streams have stopped, and I can stop the recording here too.